was your takeaway with the timeline question? Because he said by February, March, you would see Detroit Pistons basketball. And I knew as soon as he said that they were going to try to bait him. Fox 2 did it twice.
Yep.
Because the way I saw it, it was like, they're like, oh, they're going to be playing like the 04 Pistons. Like, that's the way I thought of it. Like when, they were kind of trying to retract the question and ask him like, hey, like, what do you mean by that? Like, does that mean playoffs? Does that mean like a timeline? Like how quickly do you want to accelerate this? What was your takeaway with him saying that they want to get back to, it's going to take February, March for you to notice a clear identity with this team?
I'm okay with it because Troy Weaver tried saying the same thing last season. He said, we want to play competitive basketball until the end of April. He said, we don't want the season to be mailed in by December. And we know how that went. So I like that they're at least coming up with, again, so it kind of goes into what we talked about before. You don't want to rush a timeline, but you're also speaking to other things that let you know that things are changing. Having fun, having a team identity to build on, like having different things to pay attention to besides the win-loss column and the playoff rankings. Like we shouldn't be worried about that right now as Pistons followers. So I love that he said that. It kind of echoes what Trajan Langdon said. They both basically said the same thing. It's not a specific timeline on getting back to the playoffs, but we're not trying to do the same thing that y'all have been doing these past few seasons either. We're going to get pieces in that can still slow cook the development, but also show that we're taking steps to getting there as well. Because if, again, another great quote, I believe from Dwayne Casey that he said was, the best way to lose is by playing a bunch of young guys on the floor at the same time. So while the focus of the franchise is still developing that young core, you have older players to kind of help push that in a different direction. We saw how that worked with the Houston Rockets. We saw how much that young core benefited having Fred VanVleet, even Dylan Brooks, who I'm not a huge fan of, but you see the value that he brings defensively when you have other young guys who are trying to learn the simple X's and O's of how to get better as a player and play winning basketball. So, like, I just think the plan is been communicated from the front office to the coaching staff, and I think it's going to be reflected with the players too. They're all kind of echoing the same sentiments. They're coming up with ideas. They're talking about exact specific plans in order to get to where they're trying to go. But they're just saying, hey, be patient while we get there. We're going to do different things, but it's going to take a minute to get there. I appreciate seeing that, and it's being backed up with the action that they're giving as well. He's not just giving you lip service. They're giving you veterans, getting Fred Vincent as the coach, adding pieces to help develop long-term and in the short term as well. I think the words that they're putting out there are matching with their actions, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, so many times, so many regimes kind of fluff you, give you a good soundbite, and kind of reel you back in. Trajan, for what it's worth, and I know this is actually about JB, but Trajan told you that, I want to use some of the cap space to maybe get a veteran if we can get some draft capital. What's he do? Right. He trades for Tim Hardaway Jr. and gets 3 seconds. Mm-hmm. He said he wanted to add more veterans. He did that. And I think JB and him are on the same wavelength in terms of we want to get better, but we're not here to tell the fans we're going to win 40 games and push for the playoffs. Right. If we make the play-in, then that's success in itself. But our main goal is to keep developing the young core that we do have. And if wins come along the way, then that's good for the fan base. But our main focus is getting these guys better each and every day, building and establishing a culture that these kids that we've drafted, fifth overall over the past couple of years, want to be here. We want players to want to come here. We want, veterans to want to come here. I think the one thing that I noticed, I know it's completely off topic, all the social media posts that the Detroit Pistons have been taking of them signing the contracts, all those veteran players, even, Cade signing his extension, the vibes feel different, man. It feels more positive. It feels more energetic. The players seem like, okay, like these guys get it. They're bought in. No more of the stuff that we were going through last year. It seems like, Trajan and JB, they're all, positive, energetic, and want to get this back on track.
Which is why I'm very happy that they didn't take a swing for a guy like Brandon Ingram, which is why I'm happy that they didn't I wrote a piece about it on Clutchpoints. Like the best offseason moves that they did was not getting rid of any pieces of the young core just yet. Because again, I don't think we've answered the questions of whether they fit together or not. And there's still a world that exists where if they do develop into what we think they can be based on the strengths that they have, it can work. Because again, I don't think you have to rush the offensive prowess right now of Asar Thompson. But if it gets there, it now speeds up where they're trying to go. If you trade for a Zach LaVine at this point and you kind of kick the bucket with, the development plan that you were going with, it now accelerates that expectation. And I mean, heaven forbid, if you do make a play for a guy like Zach LaVine and history repeats itself and he gets hurt, you just now kicked away your assets and some of your building blocks for a guy that's not even there anymore. Oh, wait, and you still got to pay him all that money that he's owed. So I like that they're taking the patient approach while also doing different things to grow that development at a organized and a substantial pace instead of just going right at it. Okay, hey, we're going for him. We're going for Kuzma or like any of those kind of guys. Like I'm happy that they didn't do that because it would have pushed things in a different direction in terms of expectation, and they don't need to be looking that far ahead yet. Focus on the young guys because, again, even bringing in those kind of guys, the Pistons aren't going to get to where they want to go without Cade Cunningham becoming the star that we think he can be, without Jaden Ivey becoming that complimentary scorer who maybe could be your leading scorer at a point if things work out. Who knows? But again, like you said, the main focus has to be the development of those young pieces because they're going to be the ones that carry you to where they're trying to go, not the veterans that you bring in at the last second, not the guys that you're trading in for. Now, at this point, coming off of a 14-win season, take your time, build a plan, build the young talent, and make things work for the long term.
Yeah, I think like his message to the media and the fans is, by the time it's February or March, you're going to see a team that's selfless, a team that can play together. He had a really good interview with 7 Action News talking about like what he meant by that, of just talking about how he wants this to be selfless, kind of like how the 04 Pistons were in terms of like everyone fought for each other. We're all diving for loose balls. There's no one individual that's going to get all the accolades, all the glory. Like this is a team sport and we're going to be for each other, which I absolutely loved him saying that because I think that really resonates with the fans. But I honestly think that just everything through his presser, I'm a fan of it. I honestly am. Even his interview with 97 Won the Ticket, they asked him a lot of hard questions and he answered them all flawlessly.
Yes, and we're seeing that like selflessness reflected with the team. Like even though Cade's a good ISO player, I think his biggest and best strength is his passing. I feel like Ivy, like we just said, he's not a guy that's thinking, oh my God, well, I just did this my rookie year and now I got to play second fiddle to Cade. Like, I think he's okay with that. Like, these guys are openly speaking to what the pecking order is. Jalen Duren has called Cade the franchise player. Like, I think the selflessness of the team is being reflected. And then when we talk about Summer League with guys like Clintman, who are doing things like making the extra pass, giving that second effort, doing things that show that you're trying to sacrifice and build for the team, not just how can I get 15 shots up. If you trade for if you sign a Malik Monk to come to this team, he's going to start playing like J.R. Smith, and that's going to just muddy the development of this roster. So I think the pecking order and the plan of the organization is getting clear. I'm excited to see what it looks like on the floor, but based on everything that we're hearing from leadership down, I think everybody's kind of in line with what the next steps are moving forward and how they can clean up the mess from what we saw last season.